Have you ever felt like your life was different from those around you? Maybe you couldn't quite explain it, but deep down, you sensed that something about you was unique, that you were meant for a greater purpose. This feeling isn't just a coincidence. It could be a sign that God has chosen you. Many people believe that God's calling begins in adulthood when we actively seek Him or start following His path. But the truth is, God often chooses His people long before they are even aware of it. The signs of being chosen can be present in childhood, moments, experiences, or even hardships that later reveal themselves as part of God's plan. If you look back at your life, you may notice that certain events were not random. They were carefully orchestrated by God to shape you, strengthen you, and set you apart. The Bible is full of examples of people who were called from a young age: Samuel, David, Joseph, and even Jesus himself. Their childhood experiences were filled with divine signs that they were chosen for something greater. Today, we are going to explore 5 powerful signs that may have been present in your childhood, proving that God had His hand on your life from the very beginning. These signs are not just coincidences, they are evidence of His purpose for you. As we go through them, take a moment to reflect. Do any of these signs resonate with your own experiences? If so, it may be time to embrace your calling and step into the life God has planned for you. Sign 1. A deep sense of purpose even as a child. One of the most striking signs that you were chosen by God is that, even as a child, you felt a deep sense of purpose. There was something within you that made you feel different from those around you. Perhaps you couldn't fully understand what it was, but you knew that your life had meaning beyond what others could see. From an early age, you may have felt like you didn't quite fit in with your peers. While other children were focused on playing, having fun, or following the crowd, you found yourself thinking about deeper things. Maybe you were drawn to helping others, asking questions about life's meaning, or feeling a connection to something greater than yourself. This sense of purpose is not something that comes from within, it is placed there by God. In Jeremiah 1 verse 5, the Lord says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." This means that God's plan for your life was already in motion before you even took your first breath. A powerful example of this can be seen in the story of Samuel. As a young boy, Samuel lived in the temple under the care of Eli the priest. One night, he heard a voice calling his name. Thinking it was Eli, he ran to him, only to be told that he had not called him. This happened 3 times before Eli realized that it was the Lord speaking to Samuel. When Samuel finally responded, saying, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," 1 Samuel 3 verse 10, his life was forever changed. Like Samuel, you may have experienced moments as a child where you felt drawn to something greater. You may not have recognized it as God at the time, but looking back, those moments were not ordinary, they were divine. Sign 2. Facing unusual hardships and challenges. Another undeniable sign that you were chosen by God is that you experienced hardships and struggles from an early age. While many would see suffering as a curse, in reality, it is often God's way of preparing His chosen ones for the purpose He has set before them. If you went through difficult times in childhood, it wasn't because God abandoned you, it was because He was shaping you. Maybe you faced rejection, loss, loneliness, or even physical and emotional struggles. Perhaps you had to grow up faster than other children, carrying burdens that seemed too heavy for your young shoulders. Many of the people God chose in the Bible went through hardships before stepping into their calling. Joseph, for example, was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely accused before he eventually became the second most powerful man in Egypt. David was overlooked by his family, left to tend sheep while his brothers were given more honorable roles, yet he was the one anointed to be king. God allows struggles not to break you, but to prepare you. He refines His chosen ones through fire, making them stronger so they can fulfill their divine purpose. If you experienced challenges in your childhood that seemed unfair or too difficult to bear, it may be because God was preparing you for something greater. You were never alone. His hand was always guiding you, even in the hardest moments. Sign 3. Experiencing supernatural guidance and protection. One of the most profound signs of being chosen by God is experiencing His supernatural guidance and protection, even as a child. Perhaps you found yourself in dangerous situations that should have harmed you, but you were miraculously kept safe. Maybe you heard a voice in your heart warning you to stay away from something harmful, or you had dreams that seemed to carry a deeper message. God often reveals Himself to His chosen ones in ways that may not be obvious at first. In the Bible, we see many instances where divine intervention protected and guided those whom God had chosen. Daniel was thrown into a den of lions, but remained unharmed. The 3 Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were thrown into a fiery furnace, but walked out without a single burn. If you look back at your childhood, you may notice moments where you should have been harmed but weren't. Perhaps you narrowly escaped an accident, found unexpected help when you needed it, or experienced a deep sense of peace in situations where others would have panicked. These moments are not coincidences. They are signs that God has been watching over you, guiding you, and protecting you because He has a plan for your life. Sign 4, a natural inclination toward faith and spirituality. Another strong indicator that you were chosen by God is that you had a natural inclination toward faith and spirituality from an early age. While many children are introduced to faith through their families, some feel drawn to God even without external influence. You may have found yourself praying, reading the Bible, or wanting to go to church even when others around you didn't. Perhaps you had deep spiritual questions or felt an unexplainable connection to God. Many of the people God called in the Bible showed an early inclination toward Him. Even Jesus, as a young boy, was found in the temple, discussing the scriptures with the teachers. This hunger for spiritual truth is often a sign that God has placed His Spirit within you from a young age. If you felt a natural pull toward God in your childhood, it wasn't random. It was a sign that He was calling you, even before you fully understood it. Sign 5, a heart full of compassion and a desire to help others. The final sign that you were chosen by God is that you had a heart full of compassion from an early age. You may have felt deeply affected by the suffering of others, even as a child. While other kids were focused on their own happiness, you found yourself wanting to help, comfort, or uplift those around you. This empathy is not something everyone has. It is a gift from God. Jesus Himself showed deep compassion from an early age, and throughout His ministry, He was moved by the pain of others. If you always felt the need to help, to care, and to make the world a better place, it is a clear sign that God placed His love within you for a reason. If these 5 signs resonate with you, it's time to embrace your calling. You were chosen by God, and your life has a divine purpose. No matter what challenges you faced, no matter how different you felt, God has been guiding you from the very beginning. Now, it's up to you to step into the life He has prepared for you. Seek Him, trust Him, and walk boldly in your purpose because you were chosen for something great.